And hello to all the Bruins from across the country. We want to say welcome to both the Bay Cities, talking about the South Bay in LA region, and also the Chicago area alumni for all these how do you say it, groups coming together. It's just so fun how we could do that over Zoom. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. What we're going to be talking about today is a demonstration of Vietnamese cooking, and to pair it with a nice refreshing cocktail. So we're going to go ahead and just get a couple logistics out of the way, and then we'll jump right in so you can get your drink on. I know it's after work, happy hour. We'll get started. And so we've got our chef and a bartender in Karen and Alon, and we'll kindly, turn it over to them. And if you have any questions, again, drop them in the chat box. I'll kindly ask our bartender and our chef. So if that's all right with everybody, you can kindly turn your mics on mute. We'll kick things off first and foremost with, hey, it's a happy hour, so you kind of have to start with a drink, do you not? We'll turn it over to Alon. Hi, Alon. How's it going? What do you got for us tonight?
Hey, Renee. I'm doing good. Thank you. Tonight I'm making a drink called Le Pickle. It's from the French Vietnamese restaurant in Gold Coast, Chicago, Le Colonial. Very, very good restaurant. If you haven't been, you should go. I'm the Chicago Bruin Network president, and it's a hot day in Chicago. It's 80 degrees, so we're going to make a very refreshing drink. This is, and please feel free to follow along. There aren't many ingredients. I'll list them off if you want to go grab them. And I think they're in the chat as well. So this is a tequila drink using Reposado tequila. That's tequila that's been aged for up to a year. You can interchange it with Blanco, which is, they don't really age it. But then there's that third group called Añejo, which is a lot older. And that's a little darker and not ideal for this drink. So we have tequila, we have pineapple juice, we have pineapple chunks, jalapeno, lime, Thai basil, or you can use cilantro for some more spice. And then we have a seasoning for the rim of the glass. And I'm using tagine. It's chili powder, sea salt, and lime mixed together. So let's begin. We'll start with our shaker, and we're going to muddle our 4 solids. So we're starting with a wedge of pineapple, about 6 leaves of Thai basil, and then for the jalapeno, you can do about 1 or 2 little slices. You can go more if you like it spicier. Just throw that in too. 2 small wedges of lime.
Hey, Alon, just a quick question about the jalapenos, because some people might find it hot. Would you say we have to remove the seeds ahead of time from the jalapenos? How do you prepare it?
That's a good question. Yeah, you would want to remove the seeds if you don't like too much spice. So, with one of the lime wedges, you want to run it around the rim of your Collins glass, your tall glass. That's for the rim salt when you get to it. And you throw your limes in. And I have my 4 ingredients in here, and we muddle. You just press these down a bit.
Hey, Alon, what kind of device do you got there? If we don't have that muddler or macerator, what do we do at home?
So the glass, you can use a regular cup, plastic cup, but this muddler is pretty convenient. I don't know if you can find anything that really replaces this. I would not advise the back of a knife. That can get dangerous. Um,
I think the back of a spoon, like a wooden spoon, like you have, like the back of it. I think I've used it before. I've had a guy run myself through other kitchens. I have one, but the back of a wooden spoon or a spatula or something could be used too. It's not as convenient, and sometimes the top of the kind of gets in the way of the fat spoon. You can't shove it in there, but a fork might work as well, don't you think?
yeah, it gets a little tricky. Um, so, I mean, it's just a large metal object. You can find something similar. So
Thank
we
you, Karen.
muddled our 4 ingredients, and now we're going to add our liquids. And so it's 2 ounces of tequila and 2 ounces of pineapple juice.
Alon, you could be as generous as you want. No worries.
Yeah,
No judgment. No judgment.
it is Thursday. All right, and then pineapple juice. So I'm just going to use the juice from the pineapples. All right, and we mix it around. Put some ice in. Just there, so you don't have to shake this. It's all right, and then for glass, so we've wet the rim of it, and now we roll it in the chili salt. To get a nice rim. And pour in your drink. And that's about it. So we don't garnish this drink because there's a lot of muddled items in here, and we have rim salt. But here is your refreshing Le Piquant. And from here on out, you just enjoy your drink.
Wow, Alon, that looks so refreshing, especially on a hot day like this in Chicago. We've got a couple questions rolling in here. First of all, how did it taste?
Tastes really good. I did a great job, and you don't taste the tequila too much, so I think that's the win.
That is fantastic. We're happy to share that recipe again in the chat box for all of you Bruins. Alon, we have a few more questions in here, specifically about the tahine. How much did you put around the rim? Did you just like let the glass do its work itself, or is there a certain amount that you wanted to throw in the bowl ahead of time?
That's a good question. Yeah, you just kind of create a, I don't know if you can see this, you create a little mound of the spice, and when you wet the rim and dip it in, it puts about a 1/4 inch rim around. It's not very spicy, it's just a really good kick. So you can go heavy on the rim salt.
That, oh my gosh. I personally like tahine on watermelon. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, but that looks so very good. And ahead of time, we've got another question here from Kathleen. What about, is it not recommended to shake the drink before pouring it out? What is the recipe saying?
Yeah, this drink you stir. I believe once you've muddled some fruit, you don't shake normally. The shaking is for when there's several liquors, and you need them to blend together nicely. That's generally when you'll shake. This just has 2 liquids, and the mixing is all it really takes. So
Wow. Thank you very much for sharing that. I certainly did not know that.
and with that, I will pass it off to Karen in the Bay Area, in the South Bay. Karen's going to be showing us how to make a Vietnamese noodle dish with grilled pork. That just sounds incredible. And she is in her backyard, ready to grill for us.
Yeah.
So,
This is my outdoor kitchen. I just set it up yesterday. I'm Karen Nguyen. I'm from the Bay Cities Bruins. I'm the secretary here, and I'm going to walk you through how we make the dish's name is bún thịt nướng, which translates to bún is the noodle. Typically, we only use the rice noodle. Thịt, it means meat, which everyone understands to be pork. And then nướng is grill. So that's the technique that we're going to be using today. So if you're not familiar with Vietnamese cuisine, it is pretty prep intensive. I'll get that up in a sec. And so there's going to be a lot. It's a demonstration because definitely takes a little more than 20 minutes to make, but it's well worth it. And once you kind of get the primary ingredients, you'll see that it's also really versatile. So we'll be using the same kind of building blocks, and from there, it translates really well to a banh mi. You could put all these ingredients in a sandwich, and there you go, you have a banh mi. Or spring rolls, you could take these types of ingredients, roll it in spring rolls, and you have that. It's the same dipping sauce, it's the same internal ingredients, etc. So once you kind of get started, there's a lot of avenues you could go.
Hey, Karen?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, because I honestly did not know about all the prep, but look at this smorgasbord that you've got of prep. So I can see what you mean. That looks awesome. I had no idea you can even spin it off into a banh mi. Who does not like a banh mi? That's no one. Everyone loves banh mi. We have a couple questions really quick, if you don't mind, from the chat box. For the grill, because for all the people who grill, especially this past Memorial Day, how high are you starting your grill on?
Yeah, so I'm turning it up all the way. This is when you slice it this fine and you're grilling it really fast, it doesn't really take long at all to get it. I mean, honestly, I would count it within seconds. You'll see it in a bit. You just want to get it a char. So if it starts to flame up, that's great. I mean, take it out of the flame, but like some good amount of char on the meat is like perfect. Like we'll be cooking with a lot of sugar in the marinade, so that's just going to caramelize right up and crisp up and kind of flame up, and that's why it's going to it's really a lot of attended cooking. You just kind of moving things around outside of hot spots, and it'll be really, really quick. So high heat, highest you got. If you're using charcoal, awesome. You'll get a lot more smokiness there. I'm using a gas grill, but yeah, high heat.
Oh, fantastic! I'm super excited. I think everyone's kind of a little bit hungry already. Thank you so much, Karen. A quick question. It looks like the folks are talking about the marinade. What happens if you were switching out maybe grilled shrimp instead of pork? Is it okay to use the same marinade?
Oh, yeah. The marinade is the star here. It is sweet. It's citrusy. It has a lot of like aromatics in it, shallots, garlic. You could throw in more. Some people throw in lemongrass or even ginger if you want to go that way, especially if you're pairing it more towards the shrimps and fishes. I would kind of lean more ginger. You can keep it completely vegetarian and just use the sauce as a saute with, and I have it kind of ready. You can see it on my second screen. Tofu, shiitake mushrooms here. This is oyster mushrooms. So you could definitely go a lot of different directions with just, again, these building block components. I highly recommend trying different proteins, chicken even, anything like that with this. Traditionally, it is pork, but but it is really, really versatile, you'll see.
Thank you so much, Karen. You literally answered the next few questions without even trying. That was awesome.
Yeah, I had that one prepared. I know, it's a vegetarian food. I definitely try to sub out some of my meals with pure vegetarian for ethical reasons. So definitely this Vietnamese cuisine definitely lends itself to that. All right, so let's walk through the ingredients first. So at the base of it, the recipe has maybe 4 components. So the noodles, the meat, we know the meat, a salad, let's call it that, which is just a mixture of herbs and lettuce. And then the last piece is some traditional garnishes. So let's go with the noodles first. So this is the style that I always look for at the Vietnamese market. I don't know how easy this is to see. I'll just hold it up like this. You could see that it's kind of the straight, kind of reminds you of, how you would get like spaghetti. It cooks in about 3 to 5 minutes. You put a pot of boiling water. Don't salt it or anything. We don't do that in Vietnam. All of our rices are essentially unseasoned. 3 to 4 minutes, and you'll see, this package of instructions. But there's a lot of different types at the Vietnamese market. There's ones where it's like kind of like a bird's nest, kind of like a mixture concoction. Essentially, they just dried it in this kind of in my view, messy way, and it's like this big is the package. I like this one. It stores a lot better, and I think it's a consistent quality. So once you shove this into boiling water, one trick that I use is you rinse it in the same cold water, kind of run it through, similar to pasta. But one thing to note is that when it dries together. So it dries in a clump, which later on it's kind of hard to tease out. So what I do is, and I'm just going to motion it with my hands, I take a bit of noodle with my hands, pull it up, and then put it into a bowl like this. So what you'll see is that it's going to be these individual pieces. See how I just was able to pull out it's just like a small clump, not like it's kind of dried in like these clumps. So it's a lot easier to handle. And when you portion it out into bowls, there it is, another one. It's you don't have to kind of like pull them apart like a silly string, I guess. So that's the noodle component. The salad is also pretty easy. I have a mixture of herbs. A couple of these may not be familiar to you. This one is what we call a purple perilla, I think it's called. It's green on one side. You might not be able to see the color really well. So it's green on one side, and then it's purple on another side. And this one, I think, is the most traditional one. If you can't, the second one being Thai basil. So that's right here. So these two are kind of the key ones that might be a little not different than what you guys are used to. Yeah, so they lend. It's kind of hard to explain how this tastes. I mean, for me, it just tastes like my childhood, so that's not really useful, is it? But it's not sharp like mint. Kind of has like a more like a shisho, like in the Japanese cuisine. It's kind of more like towards that vein. Thai basil, it is a basil. I think it's a little punchier. And then I'm also going to add some mint. This is all also pretty common stuff that we shove into banh mi's. I have cilantro as well. And again, it's really about the different contrasting flavors. And then I'm going to grab some red leaf lettuce here. And effectively, what I'm going to do is just slice this up into like a salad. So it's all incorporated, and it's just going to be on the side.
Hey, Karen, where can someone find the perilla in the South Bay and the LA area? Because I've never seen that before. What if we want to make it at home?
Oh, yeah. So there's a 99 ranch on Artesia. It's kind of off of the 110, and like the 91 turns into Artesia. That's the one that I go to in the South Bay. You could also probably find this mint at different, like the Japanese and Korean shops as well. I've definitely seen it there. So there's like Mitsua's, Tokyo Central's, and what am I missing? Yeah, there's a Korean shop on Second Torrance. But yeah, most Asian markets will have it. It's just you can't go to Sprouts or anything like that.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. So we have ourselves these two components so far. The next part is this. So this is a traditional carrot and daikon pickle. I have a food processor that could mince the things this fine, but it certainly doesn't have to be this fine. Actually, at most restaurants, the carrots and the daikon are a little chunkier, but it's just pickled in a vinegar sugar solution. And you can, use a mandolin like so. And then, this is what daikon looks like at the store, kind of sold in this kind of gigantic log. It's a radish. And then I usually like to find like the largest carrots because obviously it's less of this type of work. So you dice that up, and then, I didn't grab the vinegar, but essentially you're just making like a pickle. So I take like a bowl that is, I could put in the microwave. I put some water in it. I put it in the microwave to heat it up. Then I throw in the sugar and the vinegar and let it dissolve. And then I kind of pour it into this. And then maybe 2 hours is good enough. But after, a couple days, it does develop a little bit in flavor. So this is one thing that you're doing in advance, the day before. The other one is marinating the meat, which I think that's what I'm going to get to next. Any questions so far?
I think everyone is just absolutely starving. They're famished. They're looking forward to it. The meat is just oh my gosh, look at that.
All right.
What kind of cut is that?
Yeah, so this is a pork shoulder, or otherwise called pork butt. It usually comes maybe like 5 or 6 pounds. And the reason why I wanted to demo this is because there's a bone in the middle. So this bone in the middle does kind of get in the way of getting these, nice slices that you want to grill. Like, because that you're grilling it, you don't want like tiny little slices. Like, you want like a good piece so that it doesn't fall through the grate and that you kind of flip back and forth pretty easily. So I wanted to show you because this bone obviously gets in the way. So you could see, I'm going to lift the bone up like this. So you could kind of see the bone ends here. So if you're starting from this side, oh, and there's a fat cap. I typically remove this. So I'll just do that right now. There's plenty of fat inside the meat, and this part really just kind of gets in the way. So I just take my knife and I kind of run down and kind of just remove this piece. I'm not really aggressive about it. This kind of thin piece here is totally fine, but if you're concerned about the pork fat, then go ahead and just take off as much as you would like. But pork butt is kind of a fatter cut. So if you're coming from this side here, you could see that you could go ahead and make nice slices this way. But I purposely went from this side just to show you the bone. Couple of things. It's always nice to cut against the grain. So if you could see here on my camera, these are the lines. So you want to cut perpendicular to that. So basically, this way. So the slices you're aiming for is about 1/8 of an inch. Again, you want slices that you can kind of easily flip around in the grill. These are pretty good pieces. So again, yes, it's just, this is really not that technique driven type of recipe. If it's thicker, it just means you grill it a little longer. There's really no, and if it's too thin, then you grill it faster and you get, a good, so there's really no consequence of doing it, but what you're aiming for is about 1/8 of an inch, and for slices that are, nice and big. So I could take a set of tongs and kind of toss this around, around. So going back to this bone, how you get around it is, you are going to need to cut a piece of meat off the bone. Let me choose this one. So obviously don't cut yourself, but I'm just going to run my knife kind of around this piece of bone right here. And then I'm gonna just cut the bone out just to show you. Another strategy, because this recipe really only calls for about 3 pounds of meat, another strategy is to go ahead and carve up this half without the bone, and then use the remainder to just do like a slow cook operation where you kind of throw it into the Instapot or whatever. You make carnitas or pulled pork, and then you don't have to worry about the bone. But in case you are planning on using the entirety of this thing, so here's the bone. The entirety of this thing, you're going to have to deal with this. So once I have that piece out, and I could kind of cut this off to make it easier. So again, here is my, so here's, so it's cut against the grain, it'd be here. So another thing I wanted to show you is that because there's a bone, there's eventually going to be a thin piece. So you see this piece is quite thin. If I just cut slices of this, that could be something that could fall off of the grill. So the thing that I did, and I did this kind of subconsciously, and then when I was prepping the meat yesterday, I realized, oh shoot, I should probably tell them about this. So what I do is I actually make a slice, but I don't cut all the way through. All right, so here's my first slice. And again, I'm not cutting all the way through. Then I make a second slice right next to it. And then it butterflies out. So you see now that small length is doubled because I made a single slice through, and then the second slice I cut all the way. So this is a nice piece that would grill and not fall through the cracks. Any questions on this part?
You're getting applause, Karen, for these techniques you're throwing down. So
yeah.
Everyone's here for it. Any tidbits, we love it.
Yeah. Right. So you have your slices of meat here. And so the next thing you're going to do, and again, this is going to be the night before, is to make the marinade, which I'm going to do in here. So I gave you a quick set of recipe. Again, it's extremely forgiving. If you love garlic, go ahead and double it. If you love shallots, go ahead and put extra. The only thing that I keep constant, no matter what, is the sugar. And then from that, you kind of go to taste. So I'll start with the sugar first. So it's going to be a 1/4 cup, which sounds like a lot, but it's 3 pounds of pork. So, and again, with the caramelization, you're definitely going to want all of it. So I have the sugar. I prepped for myself a few things of shallots. So this is how finely we're going to dice it. Okay. So I'm going to chuck that in. And again, shallots are not provided in tablespoons. So, you kind of just pick the size of the shallot, and if you have extra, like no one's gonna cry about it. And then this is the garlic, so that's also kind of diced, kind of similarly to the shallots, so that in the marinade there's not like any outliers here.
Hey Karen, we're getting some questions in the chat. Just in case if you can't find, say, pork shoulder or pork butt, any other type of cut of pork that you might recommend?
I would recommend the loin, which also is kind of, okay, so essentially it's any cut of pork is totally fine. The only thing is how you're going to slice it, and like what's the shape of the slice going to be. So if you do like a pork tenderloin, which is kind of like this long skinny thing, like when you slice it into rounds, they're going to be like little things like this, and it might not be easy-ish to grill. But a pork loin is kind of like big and fat like this. It's lean, which is totally fine, because your Vietnamese is pretty lean cooking. So that's why I would recommend loin over tenderloin and other things. But yeah, traditionally we use pork belly because it's cheap, and we want to feed a lot of people, and it's cheap. So.
Well, no, that sounds excellent. I don't even know what happens when I go to a grocery store. So if I know what I need ahead of time, that sounds good.
Yeah.
So thanks for providing the recipes, and we'll have to definitely try to get to mimic yours as well. I can't wait to make this myself. How many people might this be able to feed, by the way?
I would say 8 pretty easily, but probably more. I never. I mean, who doesn't cry? I mean, who doesn't love leftovers? So definitely, if you're having like a dinner party, doing one round of this will certainly serve 8 very easily, and then the rest is just bonus.
That sounds awesome. All 8 servings are for me, by the way.
Right. All right. So then I'm going to throw this black pepper in, and the rest of this is these ingredients here. So, I already have the fish sauce. This is a new bottle, so I have to open it. Hopefully I don't screw that up. All right. So 1 tablespoon of fish sauce, and honestly, this is how I measure. What did I say? Oh, sorry. 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of neutral oil. Again, super forgiving. These are guidelines only. This is thick soy sauce. I recognize that not everyone has thick soy sauce. I definitely have substituted with regular soy sauce, as well as oyster sauce is pretty yummy if you have that laying around.
What kind of brand are these?
Yeah.
Good
Good one. Yes. Very important one. Okay, this is the only fish sauce my house uses. It's awesome. A religious thing. It has 3 crabs on it, and it's Viet Hung. I don't know much about it except this is the only brand we use in my household growing up. So that's the brand I obviously recommend. The thick soy sauce, it usually comes in a can like this. This one, Chun Chun. I have less of religion on this, but just so everyone understands what we're putting in here, that's the one that I'm using today. In terms of the oil, vegetable oil, canola oil is fine. I just have grapeseed oil, but sunflower, any what we call neutral oil, and then the rest is fine.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So once you have this all in, it's going to take a little bit to incorporate the sugar in this, but you could see that it's a pretty pasty marinade. If I was going with a shrimp or even the mushrooms, I would actually put lemon in here. It will loosen it up as a sauce, but also make it extra delicious, especially if you're going with like a shrimp or a seafood application. But yeah, so it's kind of like this kind of a thick pasty thing. And the reason why this one is thick and pasty is because when you marinate these pieces of pork, you want it kind of coating it, and not, and not just, it's not like a sauce, so you can see here that this pork is just getting coated in this. This is enough marinade to make the full like 1.5 pounds. So this is obviously more marinade than pork, but I just wanted to show you how this part works. So yeah, so that's the marinade. Overnight, or if you just make it earlier in the day, like half a day, as long as you could leave it to marinate, the better. But honestly, who could taste the difference? Right, so that's that. The sauce kind of is already a really powerful sauce, and we're going to actually use it at the end, so you're not going to lose any marinating time that way.
Hey Karen,
yeah.
We're getting a lot of really good questions about this sauce. It looks really, really good, by the way.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love a marinade? If you don't mind, let me just ask a quick question about the thick soy sauce. Some of the folks are asking, is it anything like maybe an Indonesian sweet soy sauce?
Well, the Vic soy sauce isn't sweet. So if you're going to substitute it with that, I would omit some of the sugar. Or if you just like that sweetness, then go for it. You could just go 1 for 1. But I think this one is kind of has the same flavor as normal soy sauce, but they reduced it down so it's like really, really thick. And another thing that happens when they reduce it down is that it kind of has this caramel note as well. So it has like a little bit, a little different than soy sauce, which is kind of more light, really rich kind of umami. But then you kind of bring it down, so it has kind of like a caramel. So it's kind of similar to like dulce de leche, how that turns out when you bring down, milks or cream.
That sounds fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody is all for this marinade because the questions are pouring in as we pour the marinade. If you don't mind, Karen, one more.
Sure.
For the sake of maybe swapping out the pork, some folks are asking about if you're going to use shrimp, how much lemon would you toss in there in case you want to, marinade for the sake of shrimp?
Yeah, I would go with the whole, just for the size of this recipe, I would go for a whole lemon, and I want to make sure you grate the lemon zest off of this too, and throw it in there, and then cut it in half and juice the entire lemon into this thing.
Thank you so much. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, keep them coming if you have it. I'm just gonna prep the grill, which is hot, hot, hot.
Oh, we do have another question though about some food. Back to the demonstration. It looks like we have a question about if we're using mushroom or tofu instead of pork, should we still marinate it?
You would kind of treat the marinade more like a sauce. So you would you could grill it. You could certainly take like big portobello mushrooms and like grill that off. Salt it, season it, oil it, and then throw it onto the grill just so you can have that grilled aspect. And then I would slice it and then on the stove kind of reduce it with the sauce. And same thing with tofu. You could certainly grill tofu if you'd like, and or fry it, which is another tasty application that I enjoy. All right, so I think we're almost ready to flip the first one. So I think over here, are we seeing this? Okay, good. You can see it's already starting to stick, already starting to get kind of those grill marks. It's not, this is a very, very hot grill. So it won't take that long at all before we flip it. Hoping for some fire action, but once it starts to cook and kind of, oh, there's some flame up. I really like the char, and I'll show you what's the most appropriate amount of char. I don't go full black, but almost. Another thing, and the reason why I have this guy prepped, that's probably too hot now. You can do this inside. You don't have to do it here. I'm just doing a demonstration, is once you're done grilling all of this, you will have some, and I'll show you in the camera here. You will have some moisture, the marinade left. So what I like to do, because I'm not grilling all of this, I'm just going to do it here. What I like to do is kind of pour this out onto this here. Oops, sorry, I'm going to grab the meat back. You should get like a decent amount of marinade. Pour some water in because you don't want it to be reduced, but you also want to cook the marinade because it has just been sitting with a lot of pork. Oops. So you do want to cook out the marinade, but like all of that, all the shallots and the garlic and everything, yeah, you don't want to lose all that flavor. So you reduce it down, and essentially you could use it as a sauce to baste the meat in afterwards. I'm going to grab a little bit more of this.
Aaron, we don't really see to the right of the meat grilling. Is it just like a pan top that you're stirring stuff around in?
All right, yeah, so right there, I threw the marinade in. I threw water in just to, I don't want it to reduce it down too much. So the water will reduce and it will keep that. And then when it's about done, which I'll show you, you'll just shut off the pan. Yeah, sorry, you're right. You weren't seeing that part.
No worries. Thank you so much. Good call, Alon. Thank you, Karen. Do you have another question about some shrimp, if you don't mind?
Go ahead.
For the sake of shrimp, though, if you're switching it out, would you how long might you marinate it compared to, say, the pork? Would you not marinate it as long as you would the pork? How would that work?
Yeah, so shrimps, fishes, I would say any kind of the leaner whiter meats, they don't need super long to marinate. I would probably aim for an hour or two, but honestly, if you just leave it in there, there's really no consequence. But if you're rushed for time, then yeah, you definitely don't need to go all the way overnight. An hour or so would do. Only other thing I'll say about that is that if you're really, really tight for time, and you're only going to marinate for I don't know, 30 minutes or less, I wouldn't even put it in the fridge. I would just leave it on room temp on the counter, because it will receive that flavor a lot better if it wasn't cold. All right, so yeah, I did the flip, and you kind of see that it is somewhat charred. More flare up would be totally fine, but it's already a really good color.
Everyone is seriously commending you on all your pro tips.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so while that's finishing up, I think there's a couple of other components. One is a slice of cucumber. This is just another texture. I like to cut it on a bias like so. Another thing I didn't mention yet is what we call hang ma, which is ma means fat, and hang is onions. So this is green onions it's basically scallion oil. I'll show you over here. It's really easy to make because, normally it's made on a stove top, and you have to take a pan out, a saucepan, and kind of slowly get it. I just go on the microwave. Honestly, I use this container. I put the scallions that I chopped, this grapeseed oil, so it's covered about halfway up where the scallion is, and then I just nuke it for a minute or a half, depending on the size, and then that's it. It's pretty easy. So I use that to flavor the noodles. All right, so I think we might be done here, and then we could plate.
How does it smell? It looks so very good that we were dying to see how it smells and tastes.
Yeah. So it smells really good, super smoky, and like grilled meat. I think I normally go a little longer, honestly, but we'll just. It's cooked. It's just that I normally like to go until it's a little more charred, so it kind of has a more crispiness to it. But in interest of time, so you chop this up like so. Noodles go in first. That's probably enough. I'll probably want a second helping, but this is good. I throw the scallion oil kind of on the noodles. I take the pork and I place it over here. And then we have a little bit of the salad, and I kind of tuck it over there. And then, sorry, for my reach. this goes right on top in the middle. I mean, obviously the placement is fairly arbitrary. And then I take a rim of this, the cucumbers, I kind of fan it out on the side where it's white, if you're color inclined. And then another thing that people do is throw peanuts, crushed peanuts over the top. My fiance is allergic to peanuts, so that would cause a incident. So we don't have peanuts, but having that crunchy texture on top is also really good, delicious. So that's that. And then the last thing that I failed to mention is the sauce. So this is what we call Nook Chum, which is a fish sauce based sauce. You could use it as a dipping sauce, which is what I like to do. It kind of depends on what your preference is. If you're the person at Chipotle that gets a burrito bowl and mixes it all up and then eats it, then I would say go ahead and pour the sauce in the bowl and continue your mixing that way. I like to eat kind of bits and pieces of the thing, a little bit of lettuce, a little bit of meat, kind of as you go along. So what I like to do is pour this off in like a separate bowl, like so, and then use it as a dipping sauce. So I grab some noodle. Usually we eat with a spoon and a chopsticks. So you grab some noodle on your spoon, then you grab some pork. I take it and I dip it like so. Then some of the, this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then kind of use it as like a single bite. Mm. Oh yeah, that's gonna make two other people happy.
Karen, you're getting so many great comments here. Everyone is seriously jelly right now. It looks fabulous. Would it be okay? I don't mean to ask, but would it be okay to bring up the bowl just a little bit more to the camera? Because I think everyone is super hungry right now. Oh, this is a really good question, actually, if you don't mind. I know you kind of talked about how maybe there's a lot of prep for some of these dishes, but then you can really lend yourself to other dishes. You mentioned the banh mi. Some of our fellow Bruin alum are asking, what specifically do you recommend prepping ahead of time? Because when you did it, it looked like someone on TV, but when we do it at home, the professor versus the student, we're like, what do we do again? Which do you recommend the most to prep ahead of time?
So essentially everything here can be prepped ahead of time. And then what you would do real time would just be the grilling. Like you already have the marinated meats, this salad mixture, you can, just put a saran wrap over this and throw it in there. This here is very easily microwaved. There's no style points for cooking it like right al minute. This definitely just goes into the microwave and it, comes just like it is. In fact, I wished mine was microwaved before I ate it. It's because you can see it's a little dry. The sauces and this stuff you definitely could do in advance. In fact, this one you would need to a little in advance. So essentially all of it. So if you were doing mushrooms or shrimps, you could already have peeled the shrimps and shove them in the sauce. Mushrooms you could have already marinated and put into a bag. So it is pretty labor intensive, but again, like this I have in my fridge kind of laying around. It goes good on a lot of different meat preparations, even ones that are not traditionally Vietnamese. So we just kind of have it, kind of like the pickle jar. You kind of just have it in your fridge.
Thank you again, Karen. And Alon,